What's going on, world? It's another episode of Sneak Peek underway. I'm your host, George Kill. Glad you're tuned in. The specific season, featuring themed collections, continues to unfold as we have already shown you John Wexler's office of Adidas, Bostic's basement of J's, Senator's room of Reeboks, and Phase 2 stash of PEs. Today we put the spotlight on Mr. Patrick Dempsey. I say Mr. because he's better known as Sneaker Grandpa on Instagram. The Austin, Texas native takes pride in collecting shoes of all brands that feature top-of-the-line materials, but what's specific about his collection is the unmatched amount of collaborative kicks that he owns. Take a look. All right, everyone, we're here with Mr. Patrick Dempsey, better yet known as Sneaker Grandpa on Instagram. How you doing, man?
Good, thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for coming.
So all the people at the Nice Kick Shop tell me you have a very different collection of collabs, wearable shoes, and much more. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I like to think that I have a good number of collabs, and I also like to try and get some diversity. I'm not as much into collecting shoes as I am into wearing them, so I like to have things that I can actually wear and that I like, not necessarily that's going to get the most likes on Instagram or that everybody's going to say. It's something that I like, that I can wear, that I'm comfortable with. So that's sort of my goal in my collection and what I'm doing right now.
Right, and I know you're going to give us a history lesson as well of some of the shoes you have.
Yeah, I guess at my age I've got a little bit more of a background of where shoes have been and where they are now. So even though I've only been back into collecting seriously or shoes for 3 or 4 years now, I would say that a lot of the shoes that are being retroed now were shoes that were live releases at the time during my lifetime. So I have a little bit of a different perspective, I think.
Perfect. Well, let's check it out.
Thank you. Here's my closet, which I've posted several pictures of on Instagram, and it seems to get a lot of attention. My wife is an architect and builder, and she designed our house, and of all the things in the house, the one thing I asked for was a place to really store and display my shoes. So originally, we talked about how many pairs, and I think it fits about 75, but my collection's actually 200, so not all of them fit in here, but I tend to keep the stuff that I wear the most. I've got them organized by brand for the most part, and with New Balance being down here, some of my favorites. I really love the 998s. The 997 is my personal favorite right now. These two right here, the gray and the blue, are just two that are easy go-to shoes that I can wear any day of the week. This black PR pair is just really one of the best releases for me from last year. I hear that from people who are not even New Balance collectors. These two are actually samples that I picked up from a friend on Facebook. I'd been looking for these for a while, but two more great releases, great colorways that are just very, very wearable. Always good with the 1300 salmon soles. This actually was sort of started my connection with Nice Kicks. At one point, the shop had tweeted that they were going to have these available sometime during the week, and so I messaged back, and then actually Matt direct messaged me and said, hey, we're going to get them at this date. So a couple days later I get a call from Greg, say, hey, Mr. Dempsey, this is Greg, the shop manager at Nice Kicks. The salmon soles that you're looking for came in. They don't go on sale till Friday, but Matt, the owner, said you can come in and get them whenever you want. So after that, had a loyal customer, and I've been going there ever since, and in the process have developed a really great relationship with those guys in the shop. I liken it for people, I always tell them, to me it's sort of like the modern day barbershop, I think, of coming to America. But when I go in there, I may not be going to buy anything, and a lot of times I don't, but I love going in there on the weekends, and I take my 2 girls with me. They love going there. The little one calls it the Red Shoe Store. I said, do you want to go there? And they go in there and they just dance around and they high-five those guys, seeing Greg and CJ and Colin and those guys, and it's great because we just talk about shoes. CJ and I would spend hours, if we could, talking about the state of shoes and where they are, so I really enjoy that.
We're talking about the display, and I'm seeing something in the shoes that I haven't seen in anybody's collection. Tell us about how you store the shoes.
Yeah, so these are just $1 from IKEA shoe trees that are flexible. I saw some people posting them in the runner groups and had to go get a few, and so it's just really easy. Unfortunately, I'd heard that maybe they were discontinuing them, but we basically would go buy them out every time we go up there. One of the other things we're talking about is history with shoes, and I had mentioned up here I've got the red and black Jordan 1s, and notice I did say black and red because I refuse to use bread or Oreo or any of that, because to me, I was alive when these shoes came out, and I was at an age where I was impressionable and I was starting to play basketball. It's a shoe that I wasn't able to get, so when I was able to get back into shoes, it was sort of the first thing I did was to go find some of those shoes that I was actually interested in. Unfortunately, the quality that I've seen that's come from those doesn't live up to those, so I've pretty much got rid of most of them just because the whole idea of lower quality, higher prices, I can make a decision as a consumer. I think until more consumers make that decision just to say, no, I'm not gonna pay that, I'm not gonna do that, then nothing's gonna change. They're just gonna keep cranking out junk and people are gonna keep paying for it.
One thing I've noticed about your collection so far is you're very big into quality, and you said that numerous times since we've been in here. Which brand, Reebok, Adidas, New Balance, Asics, do you feel has the most quality in their shoes?
Overall, New Balance, with the caveat of saying the UK and the US made New Balance. I think some of the stuff that comes out of the Asian factories necessarily doesn't have the best quality materials and a lot of times doesn't have the best shape. But I would definitely say these made in the US and the made in the UK, I mean, over and over again are gonna do it. And the hard part about it is so many of these shoes come out in such limited numbers, you have to probably order online. You don't get the experience of going to the store, looking at the shoe, examining it, and maybe even trying it on. Imagine that, God forbid you should try a shoe on. The Distinct Life from Rick Williams from Burn Rubber, and also his collabs that he's done with Frank the Butcher. I would have to say those two guys, I really appreciate their aesthetic. I think that they produce really nice and refined designs that, to me, being a little older and looking for shoes that I can wear to work or to even a meeting or whatever, what they do is sort of head and shoulders above a lot of people. I think other places have their moments where they do well, but I would say consistently those two guys put out just great shoes. I mean, this one right here, the Ventilator, which is now getting hot, but this was from a couple years ago, and this shoe is just great. I mean, the quality and everything on it is incredible, and you can still go find this out there on sale at places because people aren't into it. But sometimes that's what makes me like a shoe even more. I'd say also the same thing with both of them with this series from the Sauconys. I mean, that's just some nice, great, refined looking shoes that I can wear any day and that are just understated.
Now, I know you have a whole new closet upstairs, and we'll get to that because there's a classic leather treat that you'll show us later.
Yeah.
But I know these are your most wearable shoes, so tell us, give us 5 shoes that you wear the most out of this entire shelf.
Anything over here in these 1300s on a day when I don't feel like matching up with something or wearing what I'm wearing, this is just a nice quality shoe. So I've got about 4 or 5 pairs of 1300s that I will throw on. Probably the next one I'd go to is one of these 997s, probably either the black or the gray pair. I would probably say that these Quotools that came out not too long ago, the Adidas, another one, just a nice clean pair. Just, incredible quality, cool story behind them, a couple guys that got together. The other pair that I've really gotten into that's a little different and I've been talking about a lot on Instagram is Grails brand. It's just a nice, great quality shoe for 150 bucks or so. If you order more than one, you pay even less, but it's hard to find this kind of quality on a lot of these other releases at that price point. I really started to get into Vans, and I think it's sort of in the same thing, but like this leather on this shoe right here, how can you put this on an $80 or $90 shoe, but Jordan brand or whoever else can't do the same on a $200 shoe? I mean, this is just a comfortable, nice, clean shoe. So yeah, the Adidas, this is actually another one I really, really like, and I wore them the other day. This is from Offspring Shop. It's just a cool shoe. I really like the Bait Cruel World. I like what they did with the first couple of them when they were doing with vegan materials and all that. They've kind of gotten away from that, unfortunately, but I really like the story behind these and the model and the color blocking. The thing that for me is that whatever shoe I'm wearing it that day. So it's not, let me take it out of the box, put it on my feet, snap a couple pics, get it on Instagram and put it back in the box, because that's just not, not what I'm interested in. Plus having 2 girls, I mean, they love to jump up and wrestle and have a good time, so they're stepping on my shoes all the time and stuff, but it's just part of life. So like I said, in the end, it's a bunch of rubber and leather and that's it. So they're just shoes.
It's grown man status. Mr. Dempsey, grown man. So that's a perfect segue into upstairs, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's check it out.
This is my upstairs overflow closet, which originally had a lot of the, I guess, rarer and stuff that maybe I don't wear as often. But as the collection has grown, it's also now become overflow for downstairs, things that don't fit there. And I'm constantly switching things out when I find a pair that's more of a favorite. Got a decent selection of New Balance, got some Asics, quite a few Asics over here in this pile. Saucony over here, which that pile's gotten a little smaller, more New Balance down there. Adidas, which is actually growing quite a bit right now. One of the things that I've really enjoyed that got me really into collecting a little more was the 30th anniversary release of the Reebok Classic Leather collabs. And so this whole collection right here is all of those.
Let's get a chance to see those.
So one of the things that was popular on several of the pairs was camo, and this one in particular is from Beatnik. But I just really like, I mean, for one, orange is my favorite color, so having that little hit of orange on there and this sort of muted camo on here is just really, really cool with that clear outsole. Sole box pair was one of the ones I was really happy to get because it was one of the harder to get pairs, and I think one of the ones that still holds quite a bit of value. But another example, I mean, they just do some great design at Sole Box, and this is just another example, again, of just clean, letting the materials do their thing. This really, really nice black leather with the red suede on there. So the very first one that got me started on this, and I was lucky to get it for retail, is the Burn Rubber. I got to watch the video of them of the making where they actually went out. It was on their blog of where they went for inspiration for it, and it came down to a statue that they had. And what I really like on this, I mean, the color is just incredible. I haven't really seen that a whole lot in a whole lot of other shoes. But the God and family on there also. The script, the writing from the statue on the tongue. And then the other cool thing was that it came with this bag of laces, which were supposed to be able to help you represent whatever Detroit sports team that you like. This one actually is sort of not officially part of the whole thing, but I still consider it because it came along at the same time, and this was an Asia only exclusive that I was able to pick up from a seller in Hong Kong on eBay, I think for less than retail. And this was done with a guy, I can't remember, he's some sort of Asian like pop singer, actor guy that designed this. A Livestock, Canada. Again, just a really nice, simple shoe. I would probably put this one when you were asking about shoes that I would wear often. This is probably up there too, because again, it's just black, but I love the fact that it came with these blue, kind of sort of teal and yellow laces that allow you to kind of pick it up a little bit, and it's got some nice little highlights here or there. Sneakers and stuff. And this one actually had been downstairs for a long time. It's got the Cordura fabric in there. You know, their whole story was that they're in the cold and the snow up there, and so they wanted something that was very wearable, which makes it a little harder to wear here because you don't really want to be wearing it during the summer, even though I do. But again, I think this one, if you first look at it from a distance, you think, oh, it's just a navy blue shoe, but when you really, really get into it and look at the materials and the design, just even the way they did some of that blocking on there, it's just a really, really nice, clean shoe. So love that one. So not so subtle or simple, Bodega. They do some great work. This one is just, it's out there. I mean, there's just, the whole thing was, I think, like a squadron of bees, so it's got stingers on here, and it's just, it has a lot going on. But just, again, cool. I think it's fun when you see these shops they have an opportunity to do it and just kind of have fun with it. Now back to the nice, clean, aesthetic Hannen. And just the materials on this, it's just such a buttery shoe with the leopard print lining. This one I love. Just even the subtle details like the red and the black there that kind of you don't quite see, but just a little bit. But this one really, really is probably one of my favorites as well. Just nice. Mita. For one, they like to stay in the blue tones, it seems like, quite a bit, but little subtle things like all these little stars and dots on here that actually glow in the dark when you get in there. The gum sole, I'm a sucker for that every time. This one is probably one of my favorites of all of them. One, I said orange is one of my favorite colors. Gary Warnett, not a shop, a writer, but you know, well known and established and respected in the sneaker community. And the story he had behind him was just incredible. I mean, he went back to the history of the classic leather and how, you know, what class of people in the UK would have worn the classic leather, incorporated some prison elements from, you know, and the terry cloth in here. So not so subtle. Horsehair, leopard print, also came with some nice gold laces that I quickly pulled out of there. Head porter, Japan, I believe. Still just a cool shoe. I mean, it's not one that I get a lot of wear of, but I love having it in the collection. So again, nothing too subtle on these. You got sort of a iridescent snake pattern. Again, it came with some pink laces that I could not hang with too much. This is actually from limited edition in Singapore, which interestingly enough, I've been able to travel for work to Singapore 3 or 4 times now, and I'm getting ready to go back there, and that's the shop I visit all the time. So it's really kind of cool for me to have, again, a connection with a shoe that I have with the shop and kind of see, you know, how things are different. But this one doesn't get a whole lot of wear just because it's out there, but it's definitely one that I would keep and that I'm happy to have in my collection. Crooked Tongues. RIP to Crooked Tongues. This one again, I mean, it's probably not my favorite of the whole collection, but it was, you know, when you're into getting the whole collection, you got to have them all, sort of like that last one. But again, you know, they went with this theme, with the sort of snakeskin theme, and gave it the glossy. I actually was going to try and maybe find a pair of either tan or brown laces to put in there. Packer shoes. Packer's another one of my favorite shops. You know, and another one who a lot of their collabs when they release still sit, and to me that's great. I love the fact that I don't have to rush to get it, that I have a chance to look at it and think about it and go grab it. But you know, this one was based on the old Aztec Reebok model with the color blocking. Shoe Gallery, the theme was Flamingos at War. Since they're based in Miami, I guess they brought that in. Again, the beatnik pair had the camo, but these guys went with more of just the sort of traditional drab camo, and then that hot pink on there. Foot Patrol, they went with the mid. This one I wear quite a bit. I think this is maybe another one that was featured on today's Kicks or something on Nice Kicks. Frank the Butcher. There's something about refining and simplifying a shoe down to simple colors, simple color blocking, nice materials, and not just overdoing it. And once again, Frank the Butcher does it here. Another mid pair from Atmos, again with the camo, but just a little bit. It's pretty wild because all of this mesh stuff right here glows in the dark too, so it got pretty crazy. So by the time you get the hiking laces with the 3M and then this stuff glowing, it's a pretty wild shoe. So this is the one that I was talking about, finish it off, highs and lows. I think they called it the beef and broccoli, but I mean, the materials on this one are just incredible. It's insane, so really can't go wrong. Evidently, the whole thing is a play off of their shop, which I guess has a lot of dark wood and then like green felt somewhere, so that was their thing.
Talk about why you chose to get into collabs and what's your stance on them right now.
I originally started going with collabs because they were traditionally a better made, better thought out shoe that you typically were gonna get better quality. What I'm seeing now with 4 to 5 to 6 releases, collabs a week, is that it's impossible. When you go into a restaurant that has 50 things on the menu, probably nothing's gonna be that good. Everything might be all right, but nothing's gonna be that good. But when you go into a really nice restaurant and they have 5 or 6 things on the menu, you know that whatever you order is gonna be really good no matter what. And to me, that's more where I want to be.
Let's close it out by showing us some other gems or exclusives that you have in this closet right here.
I mean, this is one that's probably on what a lot of people would call their Grail list or, you know, whatever else. This is probably one of about 4 or 5 pairs that I actually paid over retail for, but I still didn't pay what people are paying for them now. Again, back to Foot Patrol, only in Soho. And one of the things that's important for me for a collab is if you just took the story away and the shop away and you just said, what is this shoe on its own? If it was just a release, would you like it? And I think this one does. I mean, I don't really see that color green on a lot of shoes with a little bit of pink mixed in. But then when you understand that it's supposed to be based on a hamburger, the fact that the extra laces came packed in little packages as if they were condiments, I mean, that's just really cool. I'd probably throw this one out there too for rarity. Yeah, my wife makes fun and said it looks kind of like a waiter shoe because it's all black, and especially the black laces. And actually, cool story, I got these as a gift from a friend. He was able to get them, and he was only going to charge me retail and then refused to take payment. So, you know, to me, that's one of the things that keeps me going, are relationships like that for guys that you've never even met in person, but that look out for each other. And I think especially in the runner world, there's a lot of guys out there like that. West NYC, I would have to put this in my top. So recently in my Jordan purge, I had a pair that somebody really wanted, and he had these dead stocks. I ended up making a trade for some Jordans for these and finally got a pair that I've been wanting for, I don't know, 3 years or so now. Again, crazy. Atmos, not a big Nike guy, but I've always liked the Air Max 90, especially with the infrared on there. Jeff Staples, another one that I really like, I should probably mention. And I think, again, it goes back to the fact that he's design background. I mean, I think as far as rarity goes, this pair right here, Jamaican Sun, I think this one was less than 400 pairs. It's kind of become more of a hype thing right now, but when they first started releasing them. I mean, so just some really, again, Hanon, top quality materials are just great.
Let's say you had the opportunity to make a collab. It was the Mr. Jack Dempsey times footwear brand times store brand. Who would it be?
I would probably have to go with New Balance, just because I think I've shown that, you know, I have a preference for them more than anybody else. I would probably put Reebok close behind that, and I'd have to say the home team. I'd have to go with nice kicks and get it in there.
Well, Mr. Dempsey, as you know, this is a season of specifics, and we thank you for showing us something different. You know, a lot of people show us the same stuff over and over again, but I definitely wanted this season to be full of stuff that we just haven't seen before, and you definitely did that.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to show that. A lot of this stuff isn't old, and it isn't maybe Grail status for people, but it's something that means something to me, that I like, that I want to keep, and I think I'd like to see more people do that out there than worry about what other people think about it or what you think about it.